Hi guys, so today we're going to be looking at Ullu. Ullu is a support burn DPS kind of character. She's basically the new 5-star so far in the first half of 1.5. Her main existence is to be Spadia's subpar support, but I really like her character, and I know that a lot of people as well really enjoy her character design and her role in the story. So, like always, I like you to play the characters that you like, even though they might not be the best. So that's my disclaimer, I guess. Ullu, she's not the best character. You're not going to see the most diverse use for her. She's not going to do the most damage, but I'm gonna show you ways that you can kind of use her, and she's actually quite helpful and quite I think, I'm not going to throw out the word underrated, but she is definitely helpful for some teams and enables quite an interesting playstyle as well. So let's have a look at her kit. So her first incantation is called Opening Ceremony. It's a single target attack that deals a decent amount of mental damage, and this attack gains penetration rate when the target is afflicted with burn, which they will be afflicted with burn if you're using her correctly. So that's a nice little penetration rate, but she's not going to do that much damage. Her next incantation is a debuff. This is a mass attack. It'll deal 120 mental damage, or I mean up until 300 to 2 enemies, and it will inflict 1, 2, or 3 stacks of burn, which is quite helpful for if you really want to stack up the burn things for Spadia. But if you're not stacking burn, this is just a little bit of extra damage and a way to apply burns. Her ultimate, Indomitable Fire, Scorching Heart. It's a mass buff. It gives all allies damage dealt plus 15%, which is not that great, and damage taken minus 15% for 3 rounds, which is very nice. It is for 3 rounds. However, if the enemy has 15 or more stacks of burn, then the damage dealt will be doubled. So if you get 15 stacks of burn, which in most of the teams you're not going to be getting that unless you're running her with Spadia, in that case, with Spadia, stack those burns up and get 30%. If not, you're just going to be getting 15%. Yes, so as you can see, her kit is very burn centric, and that is why people say that she's quite useless, because she's got one character that she can support. But there's something else, just wait. Insight number 1, after attacking the enemy in a burn status, which is, she will have it, all allies will recover 8% lost HP, which this is similar to how Balloon Party heals by percentage lost versus attack or HP. So Ullu, it's actually not that important that you level her up super far or get her resonant beyond like 7, because it's not based on her attack or anything. Her Insight 2, damage taken minus 8%, cool, basic. And Insight 3, at the start of battle, this is the big one, she will inflict 3 stacks of burn on all enemies. That also means that if an enemy is defeated and a new one spawns, it will instantly proc burn on that character. Burn is a negative stat. So you're going to be seeing, if you've been with the channel for a while, you might see where I'm going with this. But burn is a neg stat, and she applies it almost instantly. So there's some really fun synergies with her, with characters that don't start with the name Spadia. All right, let's look at her portraits. For those of you who are lucky enough to get extra of her portraits, portrait 1 and 2. Basically just give her extra penetration rate. No, it does not. Yes, it does. It gives her extra mental damage and penetration rate to her skill. Then for her 3, it basically just adds extra mental damage to her debuffing attack. Then for Fire Worship, this is her Insight 1. It will be 10% lost HP, which is the same as Balloon Party, instead of 8%. And for P5, the damage dealt will be 20% versus 15, and again, then that will double to 40 if you have 15 stacks of burn on your enemies. Now, Resonance, like I said, stick her like at the most 7. I've got mine at 6, and that's how she will be for most of this. But one thing I will recommend is that she is a character that you 100% need to get to I3 in order for her to be useful, because that instant applying of burn is crucial to her gameplay and crucial to her being a support for Spadia and also a support for other characters that you'll see in this video very soon. Let's look at her side tubes. So you have a few different options, but what I like to run her with is her second life. It gives her extra attack, which cool, she's not going to be doing a lot of damage, but the main thing is that when she casts a mass ultimate, which she casts, she'll heal the allies for 32% of her attack, which is nice. It's giving her a little bit more utility rather than trying to get anything else. The other option for her would be that Inquisitive Deer if you want to give an increase to the healing by 18%, and also when she does a debuff, which she has with her one of her incantations, then she will heal just the lowest HP ally. Because it's quite limited and only just restricted to one ally getting healed, if you're really relying on her for the extra healing, I do really recommend her second life. I would not go beyond those two for Spadia, for Ullu, but if you are looking for a 5-star alternative, again, good old trusty, a free heart. And this is merely just for her to survive. Ullu is not there to do damage, and this just helps her to survive, especially if you're new to this game and you're just getting started, or you are using these side tubes with other characters. So what we're going to get into now is looking at some different teams. Royal Beast, oh, the spooky hoof of the underworld. Be the nightmare galloping away. The engine? The engine? What is that? I really enjoy trying to do her accent, but fucking awful at it. What you're going to see now is we're going to be looking at some teams and some ideas to play Ullu, because I want you to enjoy these characters. I don't want you to just have to think like, oh, she's disposable. So yeah, let's have a look at some teams. Okay, so this first team is a personal favorite way of using Ullu. It's utilizing the negative stat to proc Blasphemer of the Night, the side tube that requires 2 neg stats on an enemy. So you could use Ullu with characters like Sweetheart, and Sweetheart is a DPS character who applies a negative stat with her Insight ability. And if you actually pair Ullu with these types of characters, you can actually find that Ullu is not just a burn character, but she actually enables kind of like a cheat sheet, I guess, for Blasphemer of the Night, or having access to that side tube for different characters. For me, Sweetheart is the easiest example of the most like natural, unforced way of using the side tube with Ullu. And we're using Tenet in this team. Tenet provides extra stability, extra defense, and also extra damage as well. Ullu here is also acting as a quasi healer, and I found that this is Limbo 4. I find that this team has a pretty good chance at surviving through most of the content in the game, especially because Sweetheart's just a great DPS and also offers her own defense mechanism by damage reduction for enemies that she attacks as well. So as you keep going into the video, you're going to see Ullu kind of is getting used for not just the burn mechanics, which by the way, the burn mechanic is pretty terrible. You're going to see little white numbers pop up every now and then at the end of a turn. Burn is like a DOT, damage over time. It will inflict a certain amount of damage onto the enemy at the end of each turn, and then half of the stacks will disappear. It's quite why a lot of people say the burn's a bad thing. You could stack up 20, then you lose 10. The next one is the obligatory team with Spadia. You have to forgive me, I'm still getting used to using Spadia. I've been focusing the majority of my gameplay time with Ullu and practicing these teams, not really running on Spadia and how best to play her, so please don't use this as a guide for how to use her. However, this does tend to work as, I think this is supposed to be like Spadia's best team so far. Tooth Fairy for the crit and crit support, and Ullu as being the burn enabler and burn support. So, I mean, this is the most like run-of-the-mill team. It is incredibly strong, it's incredibly comfortable, and it also allows, because Spadia can stack her own burns on the enemy, it also allows Ullu to have a much greater chance of proccing her ultimate, which requires the 15 stacks of burn in order to get the maximum doubled damage dealt bonus. But yeah, this team's a lot of fun, but this is a team that I think you're going to be seeing everywhere. I had to try it out, I had to put it in the video because I still have to put in the meta and everything like that, but as you guys know, I like to show you a bit of everything in this, and I think there's a lot of interesting ways that you can use Ullu, not just with Spadia, with Spadia. Yeah, I just would like you to use her. I mean, if you're lucky to get her. I've heard that people are struggling to even get one of her. Somehow I have P2 Spadia, but I have only P1 Ullu, so I would say that Ullu is probably higher rarity than Spadia, which is truly wild. For a majority of these, by the way, I've been using Limbo 4 in the current 1.5 patch, just because the Butcher is quite an aggressive enemy, and I feel like I kind of want to show Ullu in more difficult content so that you can actually understand how she's used, and that she's not just, I'm not trying to like get away with showing you her like doing well in like really fucking easy content. However, speaking of very fucking easy content, this is another team that I really wish I had more investment into, but it works really well for if you can get it to work. It's Ullu in a plant team. You could substitute Satsuki here for Jessica if you wanted, but this is using Diggers as a support. Diggers, of course, gives the 3 turns of shields at the start of the battle, which is really great, and I'm really starting to enjoy that mechanic with him to kind of help like speed take on the enemies. What's happening with my English? But yeah, he's really helpful in this team. It's extra survivability so that Ullu can focus on damaging rather than defending and like healing, I guess, which she doesn't do that much of, but Diggers helps cover that, especially in short-term battles. Nothing too long, nothing like a Bane's, my mind's losing me at the moment. Another long day of work. I mean, I'm sure you hear that all the time, but yeah, Bane's Bulletin, Bane's Bulletin, what the fuck is that? Yeah, anyway, this team works really well. It's also a way that you can use Blasphemer of the Night more comfortably on Satsuki. Usually she's better used with Luxurious Leisure, but if you want to get her doing a little bit more damage, because she will apply the Petrify and Rigidity on the enemies, which is a neg stat, and Diggers can also apply a neg stat with his ultimate, and Ullu, of course, is a constant neg stat. She's a walking neg stat, so it's a really comfortable way to use the Saichu Blasphemer with Satsuki and squeeze a bit more damage out of her if you actually enjoy. And of course, use a conventional healer if you want to, rather than using Diggers. This next team is going to be my staple type of like a template of use Sotheby to apply poison, which is a neg stat, and use Ullu, which applies burn, which is a neg stat. So 1 + 1 is 2. You probably guessed what I'm going to suggest. You can use with any DPS in the game these 2 characters as the base, and then insert your favorite DPS. You could use, for this example, I'm using Eternity because she also has a neg stat with her nasty wound from her one of her incantations, but you could use any DPS that you have, and this is quite a really solid kind of DOT team. I'm quite interested to see like what this game's going to do in the future with DOT. I haven't really looked beyond the patches that we have at the moment for global, but I'm quite excited to see what they're going to do because yeah, I feel like teams like this are really fun, and it's a more interesting way to play the game rather than just slapping Bicorn Bloom into every team. But yeah, if you don't have Eternity, use anyone you want. Honestly, if you need a Flatus advantage, use that Flatus DPS instead. If you like Eternity, congratulations, she's got another team. You could use Mondlik if you really want. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to kind of push this template to the to the extreme with an example of who I built for this video, just to kind of show that Ullu is not so weak. You can use her with different types of teams. But speaking of Ullu, I've got a video coming up later this week that's going to be talking about Ullu and Uluru and some of the Australian stuff from 1.5. I won't say much now, but we're going to talk about Australia. It's going to be more of a talking video, so if you like those, stick around. But yeah, there you go. Generally did well, and Ullu did a little decent amount of damage. Now, this is my example of pushing Ullu's utility to the extreme. This is the arduous level of the current event, which is incredibly difficult if you have played it. And yes, that is Onion. 3-star, worst DPS in the game, Onion, who I have at Resonant 10 because I'm a fucking psychopath, but I like the character. And guess what? If you use Ullu with a crit support, like for example in this extreme case Tooth Fairy, you could also use Eric if you wanted instead for a 4-person team and have a healer for the other slot. If you have Confusion is a negative stat, so that means you could have the Burn negative stat and then the Confusion negative stat, and slap on your Blossomer of the Night onto your favorite DPS, and I know that you're all going to say it with me, your favorite DPS, 3-star, Onion. And you know what? She's pretty fucking good. I've really enjoyed raising her, and I think I'm going to have to do a video on her, which is truly insane, because don't use your resources to level her. Don't be like me. But also Miss Morsel is here because with her ultimate she applies freeze. Freeze is also a negative stat, I believe, or at least it is something that can help to extend durations of inflictions on the enemy, which is really useful and also kind of like an underrated utility from her. She's just here if you want to use extra defenses, I guess. But yeah, so as you can see, Onion carried. What a beast. But those are my teams and my guide on Ullu. I really like the character. Is she problematic in terms of story? I mean, yeah, kind of. But in terms of utility, she's really great. She's quite diverse, and she's also a really fun enabler for niche teams. So I would dare say Ullu is the niche of niche, and if you're a niche person like me, I mean, I really hope that you get Ullu, and I hope that this has helped you, and I hope that you can enjoy playing her. And honestly, fuck what other people say, just enjoy this game for what you like and how you like it. Thank you so much for all the love, all the support, all the kindness, and all the everything else. And I will see you in the comments, and yeah, stay tuned for whatever's coming up next for this humble little channel, which, by the way, if I get 1,000 subscribers, I will, and I promise, I will open a Discord for our little community. So let's see if we can get to 1,000 subscribers and go from there. Alrighty, thank you so much. Bye bye.